It's probably human nature that we're always thinking if we just get to the next big thing, if we could make more money, if we could reach our goal, if we could know the right people, then life will be good and we'll be content. My guest today challenges us to find meaning right where we are if we just dig in. Hannah BRENCHER, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Your book, I loved it. You're such a good writer and you're so wise, so young, which is amazing because I think what's going to happen in 10 or 20 years. This whole story for you happened when you moved to a new city where you knew no one. Tell me what happened.
Yeah, so I had done a lot of what you would call like the benchmark things at a very young age. You know, started my own company, traveling around the world, writing a book, like all these things that I had grown up believing like this is it, like this is what matters most, and it still didn't fill me. It didn't really do anything for me. And so moving to a new city where I really knew no one, I knew one person and then like had a few acquaintances, I learned that the things that I had been striving for like weren't the things that were going to help me settle down or plant roots or really give me a sense of home. And so I kind of had to reorient what actually mattered.
And one of these things that helps you get there in a weird way, because I guess it's not helpful, but you started experiencing crippling anxiety, deep depression.
Yeah.
How tough was it to reach out? Because depression tells you to be isolated, but you had to reach out in order to get out of it.
Yeah, I definitely reached a point in my journey where I was like, I can't do this alone. I need to tell somebody that I'm struggling. The first time I had dealt with depression, I tried to really keep it to myself and just handle it on my own, because I think depression tries to tell you like, just get stronger, like you can do this, you know? And this second time through, I really had to lean on my friends and family and humble myself to say like, I need help, like I'm scared and I don't want to be alone in this, and I need prayer and I need people to help take care of me.
And you know, you talk in the book about all of that instinct to run and hide, to really not let people know what's really happening is really just comes from our fear. And you have this great quote. I had to quote it from your book, Come Matter Here, which is an amazing book. You said, what's really supposed to happen when we put our trust in Jesus is we're supposed to live in the context of a different story. You're supposed to move out of the apartment where fear and doubt are your anxious landlords, and you're supposed to figure out how to live in this new place when joy and peace are your roommates. I just love that. Okay, so how do we move out of the apartment of fear and doubt and into joy and peace?
I think it's an everyday practice, especially being somebody who does deal with anxiety, which a lot of people would say anxiety, like another name for it, is fear. It's just kind of a fear of like daily life things. And so every single day it is a practice to choose joy and choose peace over choosing the fear or the doubt or the worry or the negativity. And so it's daily habits and really setting yourself up for the long haul rather than thinking it's going to be an instant or overnight thing.
And you know, fear, I think a lot of that fear is just of being seen, right? If people, I can't tell you how many people I've talked to over the years who believe that lie somewhere on the inside. They don't even realize it, but if somebody really knew me, they would not love me.
Yeah, they would run. I think I had to get over that fear myself, you know, and when you're at your lowest point where you just need people to come around you and love you, you know, like it's kind of like, okay, there's no makeup, there's no facade, like this is who I really am, like, and it builds up from there. And I think I learned through that it's like vulnerability seems really scary to begin with, but once you start moving into that space, I mean, your relationships open up, they become more real, they become genuine, and like you realize that the person sitting across from you, most people like aren't actually afraid of you, and that you can build on something real rather than something that's fake.
And I think too, like for all of us, it's hard to be seen. Whatever we're struggling with, or our rawness, our makeup-free life, I guess in a sense, is the hardest thing. But when you're in a place where you feel broken, when you're struggling with anxiety and depression, that even takes more courage to open up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, because it's like, oh, I want to show you the pretty side of me, but like when that isn't actually present, like that's you. And I think it's having people though that remind you that even in the midst of that darkness, like that's not who you really are, and this is not where you're going to stay. And so I'm always an advocate for being the type of person that like can come alongside somebody and walk somebody through it and say like, I'm not leaving you here, like I'm not abandoning you here, like we're gonna walk through this and we're gonna walk out of this. And reminding people, even when they don't feel that strong or that brave, like, no, I know who you are, and I know who you are and who God calls you to be. And so it's just giving people that hope in that darkness.
I've heard it said before that depression is like a pit that someone falls
Yeah.
into, and then we come along and say, oh no, just have faith, just be joyful, choose life. And they actually need someone to reach down and pull them up and say, I believe in you, you can do it, I'm going to get you out of here. Like, you sometimes need to hope in someone else because you can't hope in yourself at that moment.
Yeah, I had a lot of people that said to me, like, during that time, like, if you just had more faith or if you just prayed more. And I know that God was with me during that time, but I also know that he was showing up in the form of people that were walking with me through it, that were showing up morning, night, taking me places, and just not leaving me alone. And I think that's one of the hardest things. Like, when you're in that pit, you don't really want to reach out to people. Like, your first instinct isn't to call somebody. It's like to
No.
isolate, to be
Pull
alone.
the covers over your head, right?
But you need those people that are literally just gonna, like, even just lay in bed with you and just be with you. But then also the tough love that says, like, hey, like, we're not gonna stay here. I had a really good friend, Chrissy, that just, like, at one point was like, okay, I know you want to keep talking about this, but, like, we're gonna move forward. And what she had me do is she actually had me start taking out, like, a piece of paper and writing on the top of it. Well, I wrote on the top of it, like, you are coming out of the woods, because that's what I called depression at the time, the woods. But what I would do is I would track every little victory that I would experience throughout a day, whether that was getting dressed, taking a shower, writing a letter to a friend, sending emails. And soon enough, those little victories stacked up into something so much bigger. And they were the things that reminded me, like, yeah, I'm capable. Like, I know who I am. Like, this depression is not going to be the thing that my identity gets sucked into.
Oh, that's so good. We're going to talk more about some of the things that got you out of depression. Stay with us.